Okay, so we're back on the phone now. We'll have to figure out the iPad situation. So anyway, so here's my solder, and I'm just gonna melt solder. I'm just gonna tin the back of it. You want to be sure and do both sides. And I just use the tip of the solder to kind of hold it still, like that. And then I can just flip over. Actually, this isn't so hot. I can't just turn it like that. And it kind of depends on what your stamp is, on how much solder you're going to put here, on how deep of an image you want to have. But if you have a lot on, remember it's going to kind of splash and send it over the edge as you put the stamp on it, which can be a really interesting look. But be aware that that is an issue that will happen. So I think I'm just about there, having the right amount. And that stamp I wanted to use is in here somewhere. We must have moved it. There it is. Oh good, it is a wood mount. That makes it even better. Okay, but I want you to look at the anatomy of the stamp. There's equal amounts of negative and positive space, but like on this dot right here, that's a pretty solid area. So when you have big, wider, solid areas like that, you're going to have to push into the metal more. It doesn't pick up detail as easily. So I'm going to get the whole thing molten, keep the tip, keep this down. The whole thing has to stay warm. And press.
I'm going to put this back in here for those that need to look for those stamps.
Is it showing right side up?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I know what we're doing with the phone. It's the
Okay,
microphone that
so
doesn't
here
like
I have now these circles, which I think look really cool, and I even like the solid imagery on the outside of it. To me, that looks very steampunk. So we've got that piece there. Now let me show you the crown. So we're going to tin the back of it. Okay, and I'm going to just swipe it across. Again, I just use the tip of the solder to hold it down. If that tip of the solder strand sticks to your piece, like I'm going to try to do it on purpose so you can see what I mean. Okay, see if I held it there too long and that stuck to it like that, don't try to pull it off. You have to melt it off. So I usually have the tip of this on an area that has already been molten and cooled down. I'm going to have to stop and pull some more out pretty quick. I'm going to run. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull some out. Okay, so now I have the back all tinned. So I need to let that set up before I move it. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to put flux on the front. You can flux both sides at the same time, but even if you do, you're probably on a piece this size going to have to go back and reflux the front. I'll probably have to even reflux some in here as I do. Okay, I'm going to use this stamp here, and this is 2625, and this is in the Victorian set right here. Now I don't want to go much further than what I can keep hot at one time. So I'm going to keep that tip, my solder tip, down on this, and this is a 3/8 inch tip. Okay, so I'm going to hold that down, and if any part doesn't work, I just remilled it. So I got pretty good imagery there. Now you want to work your way across. I don't want to come down here and then have to go back here. I want to work my way across. And if some splashes off this one, that would be fine with this. You might get some really interesting looks. Okay, so this is the flexible one, so I can go in here and press. Don't worry about that being out here. We're going to fix that. I can go ahead and melt that off and use that. And there's a ridge there, but it didn't get very well stamped, so I'm going to come in here and remelt that part. Now I kind of have to push way up into this little spot with my stamp when I do this, and it helps to be right side up. And this is not too hot to touch. Only if I've torched it is it too hot. Okay, so I'm going to get in here again. There we go. And now let's do this section right here. Anybody have any questions so far? I am going to talk about the weight of the metal here in a minute. That one came out good. Now I'm going to go up here and get this. Now I know this is splash over, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that up and bring it over here. Keep that whole part molten. And we'll get this little tip, this little point. And the stamp's getting a little warmer, but it's not too warm that I can't hold it.
Eva says hello.
Hello, Eva. We will be talking this week. Okay, so there's my piece, and I'm pleased with that. I have a little bit of overflow here and here, and sometimes I like the overflow. This particular case, I'd really like to see these points. So all I have to do is take my iron in here and touch it like that. And I'm going to touch this off here like that. Now, I lost some of my imagery in doing that. Let's see if that cooled enough to pick up. So I'm going to carefully redo this. It's still going to splash out a little bit, but make that molten. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of get away just that little bit. Okay.
Yes, Anne, we're going to go over the stamps again so you can see what the sets are.
Let me finish this piece, and then I'm going to talk to you guys just a tiny bit. Okay, you see that had a hole in it, and it closed up a little bit, so I'm just going to open that hole. And it was also, Cecile reminded me last time that about sanding the edges and hammering down sharp points. I'm probably not as picky about it. I am about edges. Edges on jewelry are a must. They have to be totally smooth. So if I was, like this jewelry piece I did over here, to check this, I always run it on my hand and say, or my arm. This is my hand. On my arm to make sure it's smooth. If that wasn't smooth enough, I'd take the soldering iron and go across here. You can sand it if you want. The soldering iron does fine. I wanted to keep the texture in here, but if you feel you have too much texture and it's going to be rough, you can hammer it down with a like a nylon hammer. But I don't do that unless I really need to take that down. So, okay, so there's my piece. Let me show you after, as soon as you're done, any soldering you do, the sooner you can get the flux off of it, the better off you are. So I've got a bucket of water here, and I'm just going to rinse it off. The little black marks you see on there, if you see them, and I don't see too much here, are burnt flux. Sometimes people keep trying to heat them and stuff, and well, they're just putting more on there. So, okay, this is water. This is Dawn dish soap, and this is an extremely soft brass brush. It's as soft as like a fine toothbrush. It's softer than my toothbrush, actually. So I'm just going to pick up the Dawn cleans, and it also, will help lubricate it. And Eva, I'm so glad you joined us tonight.
She said, we're so lucky to have Joni share this. I can't wait for her to have huge kits with all her amazing things.
I'm working. I stayed up till 2 this morning working on things. I did want to tell you guys, because I know I told you guys this would be out a week ago, but it will be out tonight. I have all the brass findings and the rhinestones. I have all the photography done, and I will be loading them on the website tonight, and they are in collections, so you can just pick up the collection. So I've cleaned this, and that's got all the stuff out of the edges. So I'm going to come in here and rinse that again to get the soap off. If I'm going to be doing patina on this, if I don't have that totally clean, the patina won't take nicely.
No, she doesn't. Sleep.
Oh, I was going to say, no, I don't what? No, I don't a lot. Now, this is still pretty flexible. You can see. And I'm going to actually end up turning this. We decided we're going to turn this into a crown. I'm going to put a strap on the back and rivet it in, so it's actually going to become like a little crown to go on this Santos doll we're doing. But my little pieces that I did here for jewelry, these are like hard as can be. They're as hard as if that was like a 12 gauge sheet metal. So you get your strength not from the copper gauge you're using, you get your strength from how much solder you add to it. So I really laid the solder on this one thick, this one not so much. So that's how you control it.
Can you talk gauge real quick, please?
Yes, so that was 40 gauge in these. This is 40 gauge, and the heaviest gauge I would ever do this with, we didn't bring that crown back. The heaviest gauge I would ever do is like 26, 28. The heavier you go with your gauge, the more it's going to pull heat away, and your piece isn't going to stay as hot. So it's going to be harder to keep your solder all liquid at one time. So you don't use heavy gauge to get strong pieces. You use more solder. But if you're doing a bigger crown or something where you actually have to have shape to it to start with, that's where I would go with a 26 or 28 gauge. So you would actually be able to control shaping it as you went. But if you're just doing something like this, it's a piece of jewelry, it's going to go on a book front, it's going to go on a wine bottle, you know, something like that. Can you reach Sam the sugar skull that we did? Sam's going to reach over for a second, guys.
Sorry, guys.
This is the sugar skull we did Saturday, and this one actually is really stiff. This would support, I mean, if you wanted to wear this as a necklace, it would support it fine. But I'm going to do it, I do them a lot on the bottle, like this.
People wants to know if we're going to have a list of the materials one would need to create one of these.
Yes, in fact, I am going to, on all of my projects, like we have under the soldering, we have a whole category of soldering tools, and we have them listed, and I'm going to have Kat star the ones that I feel like are absolutely necessary. The only reason I'm not going to put those in a kit, because the soldering iron is a little pricier, but we'll probably do a kit of like the sanding sponge and the FID and some of those type of things you can use. So the same like with this category. This kind of overlaps into the soldering. You're using the same, you know, soldering iron, the same wands, the flux, all of that. But I will make a list of what you would need to do this with. And these sets of the stamps will be listed on there, so you can just buy the stamp sets. They're also available individually, but you can just buy the stamp sets like
Lisa
that.
says everybody needs the iron too.
Well, you do. You have to have. This is the iron. This is my iron. See, my name's on it right there. This is my iron that I've been using for 25 years almost. So it's not going to wear out. This Weller 100 is industrial, and you just unscrew this little nut. It's hot right now, but you unscrew that little nut. You put in new tips if you need new tips, and it is like a master at it. And you do need the stand as well, because the stand that comes with this is way flimsy. You do need a good stand, and these stands run like $16, $17. The irons run, it's around $90 on the irons. So, but you really do have to have that. And I do have a soldering video that's up. It's on Vimeo, and I know, Eva, I was trying to get it to you today, and I just had to get this stuff done.
We sell those?
What?
Yes, we do sell the soldering irons and the stands.
Yes, we sell all of this stuff, and the solder, and all of it.
And we also had a question about this having it smaller for jewelry. I believe we have a smaller one, but we're going to have to look because these are die cuts.
Yes, these are like Sizzix die cuts, and I want to show you. Let me bring this in. This is my scrap bag that of all the pieces that the die cut comes around, and I save every little scrap. So you could draw out or reduce the image, you know, on a computer or whatever. These were cool. These were hands, and we made spooky hands and wrapped them around the bottle. But let me show you with a pair of scissors, for instance.
People used them for their Christmas tree.
The scary hands?
Yes. Heather used that and the skull for the top of her Christmas tree.
Okay, so this, I'm just going to hand cut this out. So I take the scrap. So if you just reduce the size of something, you can just use all your scrap that you have. And I look at this, has kind of that odd shape on here. I'm going to leave that on there. I did just order a giant roll of this copper, so I will be cutting that into packages and have for you as well too. So you could take the little sugar skull or something and make it smaller. And the sugar skull is really cool. You can use hole punches to punch out the eyes, the teeth, and things like that. We have a project we do like that. So this is it's like a foil, but it isn't copper just foil, because it's not just copper colored, it's real copper. So you can do, like, look how fast this is. I mean, you can do this in, I can probably do this in 1 minute. Are you checking me? If I can pick it up.
Go over the base again real quick.
Yep. Look how fast that was. And I have a charm to use. So you can do these little pieces really fast. This is a transite board. It's like concrete. It's what you do like silver solder on. You can also use a solderite board.
She said it was 20 seconds.
See, I could have made 5 of them, right? So this is a solderite board. It's lighter weight, and we use these in silver solder with our torch because you can pin into these. You can gouge them out and make little balls in them and things. So that's why we use this. But when you torch it over and over, it flakes. And when you're melting your solder, those little flakes get in your solder. So when I'm doing this technique, I move into this board called a transite board. And this is a 6x6, and it is on the website. I think these are, I should have looked. I think they're around 14. The larger, the 6x12 is $19.95. So this is probably like, I would guess around, $11 or something. So it's like concrete. And it's heavy, but it's going to stay put, and you're going to, so this is really important, I think, in being able to create these, because it keeps everything warm. And once you start putting something on it, it's going to stay warm. So let's do this, because I want to torch this for you. I want to show you how you can get this on here really fast with the torch. Let me get my solder, and I'm simply going to cut some pieces. This does take quite a bit of solder, and it depends how heavy you want to do the piece. So I'm just cutting chunks off there, and I can cut a few off and leave them off on the side as well, so I can pick them up quickly if I want. So I'm just going to lay them around here like this. Okay, now I'm going to bring in another tool. These are $1. They're stainless steel, and this is what I make my solder picks out of. This won't get hot. I use it for my bead mandrels when I do enameling, which we're doing, I think, a week from Saturday. So this is what I use, but this is what I use for solder pick, and it's the best solder pick around. Far cheaper than like a titanium solder pick or something, and I feel far stronger than it is. So I'm going to have this in hand, so if I need to move this around, I can. So I'm going to bring my torch back in here. I'm going to turn it on. Now, you do need to be aware when you're using a torch not to have paper and stuff around. So I'm really holding the flame straight down and not angling off onto a towel or something. See, that's not even going to be enough. Now, this is going to burn up. I'm holding the flame up away from it for a second. This is going to burn up this. But when I flux that, I can move that around. So it just, doesn't it look kind of ooey and scary? The only problem is it makes it hard for me to see what I'm doing. And I know there's some spots I mixed, and I'll probably just go back with the soldering iron. So I've lost the fuzzy off this. So I'm going to move over to the other side. See, the flux is gone, and if the flux is gone, I don't care how hot you get it. If the flux is gone, it's not going to spread.
Can you ever burn your base if you're not careful?
The base of the copper? Yeah, I did. I just burnt through right there, see? Which in this instance kind of worked. I really was torching longer than I should have. I usually use that technique on the heavier copper. Let me go ahead and rinse this because you can't see what I'm doing. And I actually usually put down a base of the solder first and then go in with the torch. But I do kind of like this burnout on the forehead here. Okay, now I'm going to bring my solder iron in. And all this black is just flux. It'll clean off.
So, yes, the copper can be fixed. I'm guessing Joni's going to leave the hole.
Yeah, you know, you're usually not doing a piece this large. And like I say, I shouldn't have gotten so carried away with my flame. I should have laid a little bit of this down first and then gone in and just evened it all out with this and added solder to it that way. Always use the flat of your paddle, not the tip. You need as much heat as you can down there. And if I'm doing a whole stack of these, like we usually in the fall make, you know, like 50 of them, I would be using an 800-degree tip. This is a 700. And that's what comes with the iron. I'm having to scrub away some of that burnt flux because if I don't have a clean surface, I can't get that on there. Now, this is going to be the back side anyway, so I'm going to let those little rough spots, well, I will, let me do this. Let me torch it one more time and show you how you can even out those little rough spots.
How many tips come with the
One.
soldering iron?
One. And I mean, I do 99% of my soldering with a 3/8 inch tip. You do not need, and you should not use, in my opinion, a fine point to do jewelry. You need as much heat as you can get on there at one time. I sell the 800 degree tip, and that is on the website. There is another tip called a bead tip that you can make like those little balls. See how that's evening out, guys? But I even do all my balls with this 3/8 inch tip. And that video I had talked about that I was trying to get to Eva, I have to go in and put the chapters in it. Hopefully I can stay awake tonight and do that. It's 4 hours long, but it goes into everything you need to know about the equipment, the materials, the supplies, the temperatures, how to cut glass, how to take the edges off your glass, how to foil, put rhinestones on, do the little ball technique. It really covers everything I think you'd ever want to know about soldering. And you don't have to watch all 4 hours at one time. It's divided into categories. Like somebody may not really want to do their own glass, but you can sure save a lot of money doing your own glass. Of course, you have to buy the equipment first, but it's not pricey.
Judy says thank you for coming to us.
Well, thank you. Is that Judy in California or Judy in Hawaii?
CRA.
It's Judy in California. Did I see your granddaughter's picture today? Is that I just barely touched Facebook today, but I thought I saw maybe a little child, and I thought maybe that was a grandchild with a kitten. Okay, I'm only going to do that much. And I can see some heat waves coming off of my block, so I know it's staying good and hot. Let's switch over to this stamp now. This is another one out of the #1 set, which I think is probably the best set. And this didn't get right here, so I'll remolten that right there, keeping my tip down to keep it warm.
She was a friend's granddaughter holding the cat I adopted.
Ah. We just adopted we have the second litter in a year underneath our dock. And so we just pulled one of the kittens out. One of the guys here did, scratched the devil out of him, but he got her, and we got her to a foster, and I know there's another one under there we're trying to get out. Okay, and you're just going to work your way up the side of this. You guys have questions about anything? We've gone over the gauges of the metal, that it's lead-free solder, it's a Weller 100 soldering iron. These are my Artful Illusion stamps, and you can find them on the website under solder stamps. And these sets aren't listed yet, but I will list them tonight yet. I could probably throw them up on Facebook tonight, too.
Yeah, we can do that. Judy says she loves cats. She has 2 Siamese.
I love Siamese cats. Right now we have 3 cats at the house and 10 dogs. And I'm not a hoarder, I'm a foster.
And the cats we have here at the shop are Bengals.
And we have, how many do we have here? We have 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 4. Oh, darn it. You didn't see that, guys. You know what I did? I used it upside down. This is going too slow. I either need to flame it or change to an 800.
Judy says 10. Wow.
No, and a couple of them are great. How many Great Danes? 3 Great Danes, a Mastiff, and a
Yeah.
Boxer. And then the others are some other strays that ended up coming in on rescue missions, but they're needy and they weren't really adoptable, so they're living with me probably forever. And one of my best friends just died a couple months ago, and she had asked me to take her little doggies, which I love, so now I have her 2 little doggies. I'm going to move that out of the line of fire. Keeping my flame straight down so I don't lose all my other texture.
So when we have packages of these skulls, how many skulls will be in a
You know, I
package?
don't know. To be real honest, it depends how much. I don't want to make any of the packages too expensive, and I have to see some of the dies. Now, see the skull. I'm going to be able to turn one this way and then turn one that way, and alternate them back and forth. But they do still take a lot of time, a lot of labor to do them. So, I mean, if you have your own die cuts and stuff, you can do this very easily. It even works on the thin wafer dies. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 3. I welcome your input.
What other shapes will we have?
I'll show you in the little tray here. In fact, I'm going to stop doing this guy because you already saw one finish. So it's taken me some time. So we're going to move that off to the side. I'm just going to throw that in the water. I'm going to start sneezing in a minute. Something has gotten to me. All right, let me move this out of the way and let me show you a couple of the shapes we have. And most of these are larger. The smaller ones are on the wafer dies, and I'll get some of them dug out too. But these are all ones I've done before. Here's wings. I think those would be really cool to put in a collage. Here's 2 of them.
Do we sell the die cut and cutter?
I do. I kind of do, but I think I'm going to get out of the die cut business. It takes up a lot of space, and I truthfully have found that most of my customers are going for that type of product are, I'm sorry to say this, Hobby Lobby and Michael's, and online and stuff. So I'm really focusing more on things that are specialized and hard for you guys to find, and things that need manufactured. Look at this, it's a hinge. Wouldn't that be neat on a book cover to have a molten hinge? And initials. Wouldn't those be neat on books to like have a monogrammed book front? So there's birds. I just quickly this afternoon looked through some things. Here's a little pumpkin that would be fun. So pretty much all different shapes and sizes and
Judy says she
whatnots.
has those dies.
See, that you can do. This is a snowflake. All different sizes and things that you can do. The star would be a great Christmas ornament, or you could put this on a package, and then they could make that into an ornament.
Love the hinge.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that on a book. And the leaves are another one of my favorite things because I've patinaed these in different colors, and they're flexible. And then Sam used this one with the alcohol inks work well with this. I kind of like the natural patinas, but and if the leaf isn't too thick, you can give it shape like it's blowing and has
Judy
dimension.
says, OMG, I have all of these and now I have ideas.
See, that's why I say I'm not really stressing to be in the die cut business because I chew up a lot of my inventory and space, but I can show you what to do with this stuff. And I can do a lot of specialty little things like the stamps. These stamps I've been doing for 20 years. And I do think I'm going to make this into a class, doing these little back plates like this. Did I show this in the beginning?
Briefly, yes, but not in the beginning of this one.
Okay, guys, I just threw this together tonight. This is just a long, skinny rectangle that I just rounded the ends. I made this pretty heavy on the back because I wanted it to be able to hold its shape. And then on the front, I did it, and I did a design in it. Then I went back with my soldering iron and melted away a solid area, And these are the letter stamps, you know, the metal ones you stamp into discs and bracelets and things. The nice thing is, if you mess up stamping it, you just melt it back out and you can do it again. So that just says amazing in all different letters, because that's my little 3-year-old grandson's one of his favorite things to say is, it's amazing. So I'll just let me show you how you hole punch this. And we do sell these hole punches as well. There's 3 sizes. And the 1.2 I use just to thread wire through. The 1.5 is for the pre-made rivets. And a 1.8 is for like jump rings and things. So I'm just going to, this is how easy this is to do. Just going to punch. You can also drill. Just going to punch that through. And now I can put a jump ring through there. What else I thought would be really cool on this to do is to have a piece of leather. I have a bunch of leather at home, and rivet this on top of the leather like that and have a leather bracelet with that on the back. And this is really strong. Remember, the lead-free solder is really strong, so those letters, you aren't going to have any trouble with them coming out. And that isn't ink, or it isn't, usually people will do liver of sulfur to darken the recesses. I use acrylic paint. So I put acrylic paint with a, what are those called, Q-tips. And I just dip it in the lid where it's, I have a jar, a bottle of acrylic, just cheap acrylic paint. Took the lid off, let it set for 3-4 days, thickened it up, put the lid back on, shook it. Now when I want to use it, I just take the cap and put the Q-tip in the cap, and it's a thickened paint. And I just scrub it across, and then I flip it over and take the back side of the Q-tip that's clean and rub off the excess. And this is what you get.
So hopefully she can teach a class on cool connection, riveting in particular.
I have a riveting demo ready to go out, and I will do, they're not project driven. They're show different things I've done with it. But the riveting class, your battery's going low? Sorry, now we're losing battery. The riveting class is going to be just an hour long, but it goes into every type of riveting, and that will be out in just a couple of days. I've already got it loaded up on Vimeo, but I just have to finalize it. So, and I think that's what we've got, guys, tonight about this. If anybody has questions, text me.
Let's go over this
Okay.
again.
So here's 4 sets. These are sold individually under products and supplies. The second category down is Artful Illusions rubber stamps. You go down to solder stamps, but these are 4 groups I've put together, so you can just, this one's a Victorian. These are my favorites here. This is probably the #1 used, and then this is some more flourishes. This one is more whimsy, curly cues and things, and then these are bold images to use. So
Do you sell the hinges?
the hinge is a die cut. Yes, this is one we have. This is a, I don't know if it's a Sizzix, or I've had these dies for 20 years. I mean, I have shelves and shelves and shelves of dies. So if there's a particular design you're kind of interested, let me know. I also have a smaller set of hinges too. I think would be really cool for projects too. So yes, and we'll get, it's going to take me a little bit to get these all done and figured out the sizing, the pricing, get them all photographed and everything. But all the you guys that have been wanting all the brass findings, the cool things that Terry Brush uses in with her bezels and things in the classes, those will be up in a couple of hours on our website. And it is under products and supplies, and it's called Brass Findings and Rhinestones. So we will have those listed for you too. So, and this is all red rubber. Don't use the clear rubber stamps. They tend to meld a little bit with this. This is all deep etched red rubber that I actually go to my basement and vulcanize these myself. So that's something else we do. So is that it guys? Any further questions? Like I say, you can text me, you can call me, 316-640-6332. That's my cell phone. You can text or call me on it. 316-640-6332. So far, I haven't gotten any crazies calling me on it. If I do, I may have to change it, but so far it's just been you guys. Now that you've published it, I'll get I'll get every crazy there is on it.
I can go back and take that comment out though after.
Yeah,
we
yeah. So
publish.
everybody get that down, and then we'll erase that from
we will
the
be
Facebook.
live again Thursday, doing a pre-setup for a woven bag,
Yes, a little loom,
and that's at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time.
and you have the pictures up, right? Are they already loaded?
They'll be loaded tonight. They won't
So,
publish.
okay, so we will publish tonight the picture that shows the finished bag and the little kit that's a loom. It's $25. If anybody wants to buy it, have us ship it to them. You can do it along with me. You won't need it for this Thursday. It's the following Thursday that we'll actually be doing the weaving of the bag. So this Thursday, I'm just going to show you how to set up your kit and what type of yarns and things like that to use. But we'll be here 7 o'clock Central Standard Time this Thursday, May 21st.
And Saturday we're doing the beads.
Saturday, I'm doing enamel beads, and there'll be pictures of that up there as well.
They're coming up at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yes, Central Standard Time. All right, guys. Thanks. Till next time.